The day my father died, I didn't just lose a parent. I lost my home, my inheritance, and what I thought was my place in his life, or at least, that's what everyone believed. My name is Arav Mehta. I was 34 years old when I stood in a lawyer's office and heard the words that felt like betrayal carved into stone. Your father has left all his assets, properties, businesses, and investments to his wife, Shalini Mehta, not to me, not to his only son, to my stepmother. I remember sitting there, staring at the polished wooden table, trying to keep my breathing steady. My father was a self-made businessman. He built a logistics company from scratch. He owned 3 commercial properties, 2 houses, farmland outside the city, and substantial savings, and apparently none of it was mine. Shalini sat across from me, dressed in white, her face composed but unreadable. She had been married to my father for 12 years. After my mother passed away, he had changed, softer, quieter, more private. I respected his choice to remarry, but I never felt fully at home around her. The lawyer cleared his throat. There is, however, one condition. Those 4 words changed everything. Why father wasn't a perfect man. He was strict, disciplined, emotionally reserved, but he was consistent. He showed love through responsibility, school fees paid on time, birthday gifts chosen carefully, advice delivered firmly. When my mother died of cancer, I was 17. I watched my father shrink into himself. He buried himself in work. 5 years later, he introduced Shalini. She makes me less lonely, he said simply. She was graceful, educated, 10 years younger than him. She spoke softly, but her eyes observed everything. I tried to accept her. I truly did. But after their marriage, something shifted. Decisions were discussed privately. Financial matters were kept vague. My father and I spoke less about business. I built my own career in architecture. I never depended on him financially. I wanted him to be proud of me, not obligated to me. Still, I believed I was his legacy. Back in the lawyer's office, my chest felt hollow. What condition? I finally asked. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Shalini Mehta inherits everything under one legal condition: she cannot sell, transfer, or liquidate any asset for 10 years. All properties and business holdings must remain intact. During that time, the company must be managed jointly by Mrs. Mehta and Mr. Arav Mehta. Silence. I looked up. Jointly? I repeated. Yes, the lawyer confirmed. Your father specifically stated that operational authority of the company requires both signatures. Major financial decisions require mutual consent. I turned to Shalai and halted. Her composure cracked for the first time. She hadn't expected that Shalti, my father, hadn't left me wealth. He had left me control. He knew something I didn't. Over the next few weeks, I discovered the truth. My father's company wasn't just successful, it was fragile. 2 risky expansions had stretched cash flow. Several loans were tied to personal guarantees. If Shalini had inherited everything freely, she could have sold assets quickly, perhaps under pressure, perhaps under influence. But the condition locked everything in place and locked her with me. We had to work together, or everything would collapse. The first board meeting after his death was unbearable. Senior managers looked at Shalini for direction. She looked at me. She had never run a business before. I assume you'll handle operations, she said coldly. I assume you'll learn, I replied calmly. For months, we barely spoke beyond necessity. Every document required both signatures. Every contract demanded discussion. At first, it felt like punishment. Then I found something unexpected. Hidden in the company's archived files were personal notes from my father's strategic outlines, market projections, handwritten advice. One note was addressed to me. Arab, if you're reading this, it means I'm gone. I left everything to Shalini for protection, not preference. But I left you the responsibility because you understand what I built. Protect it. Protect her, too. She doesn't know everything yet. Protect her? I was angry, confused. But I followed his plans. 6 months into joint management, reality surfaced. Several distant relatives began visiting Shalini, advising her, suggesting she sell one warehouse for liquidity, recommending transferring land into safer name. She almost agreed until I showed her the numbers. If you sell now, I explained calmly, we lose leverage, we lose long-term value, we lose what he built. She stared at the spreadsheets. I didn't know, she whispered, and for the first time, I saw not a rival but a widow overwhelmed. She wasn't a gold digger. She was unprepared. My father had known that. That was the condition. He didn't leave everything to her because he loved me less. He did it because he trusted me more. One evening, an investor tried to pressure Shalini into signing a short-term liquidation agreement. I walked into her office mid-conversation. She cannot sign without me, I said firmly. The investor left irritated. Shalini looked shaken. I thought he was helping, she admitted. He was helping himself, I replied. That night, she told me something I never expected. Your father was scared before he died. He knew people would circle me. He said only you would see through it. For the first time since the will reading, I felt something other than resentment. I felt responsibility. We didn't just preserve the company, we expanded it carefully. We cleared debts, we restructured operations, I introduced digital systems. She learned financial literacy and governance by year 8. The company was worth double what it had been. Shalini never remarried. She never tried to sideline me again. And when the 10-year restriction expired, she called another meeting at the same lawyer's office. I am transferring 60% ownership of the company to Arav, she announced calmly. It was always his father's intention. I was stunned. Why? I asked privately afterward. She looked at me with tired but honest eyes. Because you protected his legacy and mine. I walked into that office years ago, believing I had been betrayed. But my father hadn't disinherited me, he had positioned me. He knew that money tests character, that grief invites manipulation, that protection sometimes looks like exclusion. The condition wasn't punishment, it was trust. And here is what I learned. Inheritance isn't always about assets. Sometimes it's about responsibility. Sometimes it's about proving who you are when no one hands you anything. Father left everything to my stepmother, but he left the future to me, and in the end, that was worth more than any will could ever say.